When is a kaiju not a kaiju? In the case of King Kong, it can be debated. The word kaiju means mysterious beast. Add the word dai before the word and now you have giant mysterious beast, which implies an unclassified type of creature rather than a recognizable one. Kong is essentially the granddaddy to the kaiju, but is often not included in the classification for some odd reason. Perhaps many consider kaiju to be Japanese specific, but I'll counter my own argument with the subject of this video. The original king himself, Kong, the giant upright walking primate with a distaste for Godzilla, as we review the 1993 Bandai 8-inch vinyl from Toho's King Kong vs. Godzilla. King Kong really needs no introduction. Arguably one of the most famous cinematic monsters to grace the silver screen. The original 1933 film is still hailed as not only a technical achievement, but an all-around Hollywood classic. The story of men's entrepreneurial greed and how it is used to manipulate a massive gorilla-like beast into captivity and ultimately death. Brought masterfully to life through tedious stop-motion effects and models by Willis O'Brien. It was no wonder when Toho's 1962 classic hit the screens that the suit used to bring Kong to life was heavily scrutinized. I mean, look at it. It's a Temu Bigfoot costume. All kidding aside, the ideology for special effects is what separates Kaiju Kong from Amerikong. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. Having seen this film almost as frequently as Godzilla vs. Megalon as a kid, it was confusing at first since several noticeable changes were made to the monster. No longer an inhabitant of Skull Island, this Kong resides on the South Pacific Faroe Island, a land that also hosts a giant octopus that he does battle with and ferrolactin berries, a natural narcotic that the natives grind into a juice to offer to Kong, which has like an alcohol-like effect. Also, this Kong, aside from looking noticeably different from the 1933 original, is to scale with Godzilla, now being able to step on buildings instead of climbing them. And finally, with the great grow-up comes great power, in the form of channeling electricity from lightning strikes, both enhancing his strength as well as delivering a shocking touch to better level the playing field with the atomic breath of Godzilla. In the 1962 film, Kong and Godzilla are coerced into a fight with one another by the convenience of man's intent. The hope that Kong would rid Japan of the menace of Godzilla, who has recently come ashore to wreak havoc. In the first round, Godzilla proves to be formidable just by his atomic breath alone, sending Kong retreating in a confused state. After a series of mayhem, and with the two monsters on the loose, they once again face off with one another on Mount Fuji, where Kong, at first, is overmatched, but then gets struck by a convenient lightning storm and holds his own against the king of the monsters, with both falling into the sea. Kong surfaces, appearing to be the victor, however, it is likely a stalemate, with Godzilla being at home underwater. The massive success of this matchup has never been granted a follow-up, despite being the highest grossest film of the era. It wouldn't be until decades later that Hollywood would pit the two against each other again, building a shared universe franchise around them both. Just like Legendary Pictures bringing Kong back, I have also brought my vinyl out from storage, still in his bag and thankfully still in great condition. Surprisingly, I have his tag, which if you know me by now, I usually don't bring much attention to, but for the sake of referencing happier times, not only is this format of particular tag longer, the price tag is a snapshot of costs in these items back when this figure was released in 1993. A whopping $25 for an 8-inch figure. Search for this guy now in the aftermarket, and the desire to get him could be easily squandered by the asking price. That being said, let's delve into the relevance of this piece and deduce whether, like the question I posed at the beginning of this video, if this guy has a place in your modern-day kaiju lineup. And now we can focus on the figure itself, in his full ape-tastic glory. A fantastic showpiece now made more special by the exclusive value it means to possess one. Ripped from the screen, Kong is molded in a mousy brown vinyl, emulating his look from the 1962 film. Where most films depict Kong in a dark grayish-black fur, Toho chose to go this route, further distinguishing him from his American namesake. The colors bounce off nicely from the molded texture of the fur, which I'll touch upon in a minute. Kong's ugly mug is painted in a muted tan flesh hue, again playing off the sculpted creases. His mouth's full of those sharp canines that are adorned in a silverish white, as is his creepy, lifeless eyes, a design choice I still don't quite understand, carried over from the film, in which frosted lenses were used in some shots. His pecs are exposed patches of the same flesh color, as well as his hands. The feet are also graced by the same tan color as his face. And really, that is the total color palette used here. The sculpt is where the figure really shines. The furry body sports strand-like textures that flow over costume bunching creases, particularly the back of his neck and random areas of the main torso. Even his ass crack gets some shine. The face gets a fantastic sculpt. Big, toothy grin with his sharp teeth on display, beady eyes, and upturned snout, all framed in a wrinkly, crease-laden forehead and pronounced mouth, heavily implied from the side profile. Staying on this angle, the head of hair is like a primate pompadour. Again, his pecs. Reviewing nipples was not on my bingo card for any review, but here we are. Which look as they should, I guess. Hands are well executed, with gnarled knuckles and fingernails sculpted in full detail. The feet are almost as good, but not on the level of his hands in terms of wrinkly deets. The toenails are present, so that's a plus. Because the sculpt is so on point here, something had to be sacrificed. In this case, the head lacks any movement as it's molded directly into the torso. But his long-ass arms get the full 360 swing at the shoulder. The rotation is stiff, and that might be more to do with the fact that it hasn't been moved in a number of years, decades perhaps. The legs are even tighter, but can still pull off the full rotation, eventually. Not bad for a humanoid vinyl from Bandai. First up, I'm pairing Kong with his on-screen rival, this fantastic vinyl model kit produced by Kyoto of the 1962 King Goji. This was another item donated to me by my oldest brother. It was originally assembled but not painted. I took the liberty of painting myself, which I may have chosen the base color a bit too green over gray. Anyways, these two scale fairly well, despite the model frozen in his pose. Even if Bandai releases a King Goji version, it will undoubtedly be too small to pair with this Kong, which ties into my next comparison. As you can see, modern Bandai figures are too small to pair up, but with careful camera angles, you can use forced perspective to change that. They still look good together. The monster that Kong was intended to fight in the unproduced Robinson Crusoe adventure King Kong vs. Ibera, a match I feel would be better suited for the King of Skull Island, as neither have any power sets outside of their physical hand-to-claw prowess. But is Kong truly a king of vinyl? Jet Jaguar only crowns those worthy with his fists.
Punch, punch, punch! Punch, punch, punch!
6 punches, a rarity for an older figure, now outdated in terms of scale. Well, as a standalone piece, which one can argue Kong's place in the Showa franchise reflects, this vinyl is of high quality. Bandai really pulled out all the stops for this guy, and that is likely to do with probably the only opportunity they would have to produce this rendition for obvious licensing reasons. From the fine sculpted details, ranging from fur texture, the skin creases, and paint applications, nothing on this guy is sloppy. And furthermore, in an era where the more humanoid vinyls barely get any leg joints, looking at you, Jet Jaguar and Gabara, this guy gets some decent articulation. And despite his scale, he does deserve a spot for display. He's just too nice to ignore, and unless Bandai can work the angles and give us a scaled-down version of this guy, this may be all we've got right now. Thanks for giving this a watch. If you like this video, I have a gamut of other reviews on my channel for you to check out. It's full of Godzilla goodness, from reviews, retrospectives, and some errors peppered in for fun. Don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe as well. After pushing through all that mechanical madness of this year's Mechagodzilla March, it's nice to finally settle into April. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I lost subscribers now, haven't I? Well, thanks for watching.